I devoured the Homeward Bound films as a child. I watched them back to back. I watched them constantly. As an adult, I can't watch them because I will cry like a child. But as a child, I cried, but I really enjoyed the films because I loved Disney's animal films. Now, I can't choose a favourite between Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, and Homeward Bound II, Lost in San Francisco, because I feel like they're very different, depending on what I'm in the mood for. Having said that, the story is basically identical, but in a different location. So the second film was released in 1996, directed by David R. Ellis, written by Chris Hauty and Julie Hickson. And we have Michael J. Fox and Sally Field as Chance and Sassy again, and we also have Ralph Waite as Shadow. And what makes this different is the fact that it's set in San Francisco. So whereas the first one was very rural, we had a lot of wilderness that caused some pretty lovely, beautiful locations. This one's set in San Francisco, very city-based, and I would love to go to San Francisco, so just the scenery makes this very exciting. I'm just assuming that it was filmed in San Francisco. If I can just double check that. Yes, it definitely was filmed at least on Wisconsin Street and 20th Street in San Francisco. And I'll read the description from IMDb. This says, when adventurous pets Chance, Shadow and Sassy are accidentally separated from their vacationing owners, they're left to fend for themselves on the mean streets of San Francisco in search for the golden bridge that will take them home. No guesses for what the golden bridge is. So basically the same concept, these three animals are yet again abandoned and they have to make their way back to their owners, and they go on this adventure and have all kinds of problems that they have to overcome, some independently, some as a team. It's basically the exact same narrative as the first film, but with a different location. And again, I can't decide which I prefer, and I refuse to decide because they're both brilliant in their own way. But I think it's nice. I don't think it's a problem that the locations, that the narrative's basically the same, because I think that familiarity works. As a narrative trope, it really works, and it's familiar, but with a different location. I wouldn't have minded if they then went on to do Homeward Bound 3 stuck in London or whatever. I think it's quite nice, and it's a nice way to spend more time with the animals that we have kind of grown to love. I never had a favourite, but I think Sassy would have been my favourite if I had to pick one. Now I prefer Shadow. If you have a favourite animal, do let me know. And if you can choose between the two films, I'd love to know which you prefer. I guess the first one... In fact, let's have a look. It's 6 out of 10 across 13,000 reviews for the sequel. And... 7 out of 10 across 42,000 reviews for the first film. So needless to say, as one would expect, that one is more popular. We also have Disney's first attempt at The Incredible Journey, which is the 1963 version, which I have seen, and I'm not really sure why they remade it. This film has 7.1 out of 10 across 4,000 reviews. Basically the exact same concept again. Maybe I will look at that at some point in more detail. But I do like Lost in San Francisco. If you liked the first film and you haven't seen the sequel, definitely give it a watch as long as you are prepared to cry. It's very emotional, but at the same time, I think it's pretty uplifting.